r/relationships. Figure Burndas says, 35 meters and 40 female, in a relationship for 8 years and boyfriend wants name on deed. I have a boyfriend for almost 8 years. I'm a 40F and he's a 35M, but most recently we had to separate homes because of some issues between us. He is very lonely and wants to get back together, but wants to have his name on the deed of my home before he moves in with me and threatens that he will not join me if I don't add him. I told him that we should get married before I can do that, and he said that it's not necessary. Should I believe him when he said that he's already committed to me for 8 years and really not sure what the pros cons of marriage will be, so not really want to do that? Or should I not believe him and walk away? We had so much difficulty in our relationship because of his mental instability, but I was always there for him in his super low times and tried to take care of him, but there was a point where I felt that he was just using me and did not really want this relationship, but just my money, although he keeps saying that he didn't want to marry me or propose because he doesn't want me to think that he was only after my money. I really love him, but the other side of me is scared to pursue this relationship, thinking that he could be making this up so that he could have a part of my property, and then if something happens to our that he would just leave me and get 50%. This is very difficult for me as I know that is the only person that I truly love, and that he was in a very traumatic situation with his relatives and only time will heal, but he is not 100% yet and had been very negative and aggressive towards me recently despite being 1,000 of miles apart. Too long. Didn't read. My boyfriend wants his name on deed, even when not married yet. Short Stack 997 says, definitely say no to him. You even show in your post that there are red flags that you are aware of, and your instincts are telling you that he is a problem waiting to happen. Do not give him part ownership of your home. From what you've said, I wouldn't even try to marry him. You may love him, but he sounds like a train wreck. I'd keep him, at best, at arm's length. Hot Zakeeper Game 472 says, don't do it. He's literally throwing down an ultimatum to stake a claim on your property. Sao Elephant says, plenty of folks have pointed out that the boyfriend here is a manipulative a-hole and op needs to stay apart from him, so consider that repeated here, lol. But let's say that you were in a good relationship with someone and they want to live with you forever and ever, and you already own a house but want to add them to ownership. So let's just talk about the practical aspects here. The big thing up front is that if your house is currently financed, you're probably going to need to refinance the house to add the other person as a co-borrower, so you'd both have ownership and you both have responsibility to the lender to pay the mortgage. It might be possible to add the person to the deed without adding them to the mortgage, but now they would own a slice of the house without having any responsibility to pay the mortgage, and that's a problem. So, bottom line, you'd need to refinance the home to bring the other person onto the loan if you want to do it right. Second, you'd also want to adjust for the fact that you've been paying on the home for 8 years and you've got a certain amount of equity. So you probably should adjust things so that either you get some cash out when you refinance to account for your equity, or you get a larger percentage of the house, or something. Third, if you're going to get a house together with a person you're not married to, you need to set up an agreement for what happens in the event of breakup. Like, divorce law is totally prepared for two spouses who own a house, but when boyfriend and girlfriend own a house and break up, it tends to get more complicated. Like you could end up in court for years trying to force a sale, so you'd want to have contractual agreements drawn up at the time you buy the house that says, if we break up, this is what happens if we can't agree about who buys the other person out. Defeat Gravity 10 says, call his bluff. If he isn't using you and wants to make it work, he will drop the name on the deed thing. If you have never given him a reason to worry you would leave him high and dry, then this is just him trying to get a piece of yours. Tell him it's a hard no, but you are willing to have him move back in eventually after you all have had some good stable time between you. If he walks, let him walk. Shortimmer Blues says, never never put his name on the deed to your home. Learn from your past 8 years. Try another year apart. See where that goes. If you get married, you will automatically become responsible for his debts, and so will your home. At 40, don't be foolish with your future stability. Smiley Gravating 9608 says, if he hasn't paid 50%, why should he get 50% ownership? That's just insane and completely unnecessary for a relationship to work, so there can be only one motivation. I would look very hard at this aspect and completely 100% put my foot down on it. Additionally, if there is common law marriage in place where you live, I would find ways to protect myself on that side too. Whatever the gender, it's 100% unfair for a spouse or BF/GF who did not contribute to a big asset such as real property to get a part of that asset simply for being with you a few years. And yes, a marriage or similar, ESP with kids and anyone can be a different story depending on details. But for a BF/GF want to have ownership of your property without having paid for it is just insane. I'd push back on the why side. There's logical arguments against it. But I get that's not for everyone, and depends on you and him too. r/relationships. Then employer 9918 says, stop talking to my friends group after my wedding. I 28 female, stop talking to my friends, all F around 27 to 30, after my wedding, because of how they made me feel. I'm the first friend in the larger friends group to have a child, get engaged and married, because I'm the only one that has been able to keep a long-term boyfriend, and Bob was a little bit of a much wanted accident. I've known these girls since I left high school and closest with 2 of them. There are about 3 to 4 on the bigger outside circle that I was close with too. I won't deny that we didn't have good times together and a lot of history. But I have always felt the friendship was competitive, social climbing, and no one was genuinely truly for each other's happiness or successes. 2 girls in particular that I was the closest to would always just talk crap about one another and everyone else behind each other's back. I find that they still just acted how they did when we were all 19. After having my beautiful baby who is now 18 I just have different priorities. A few examples that made me question our friendships was when I got engaged and had my hens and wedding. I just truly felt they couldn't care less, or maybe a little jealous, that the spotlight wasn't on them. My sister said they were a nightmare to organize the hens with, as they complained about the cost, and my sister ended up doing everything herself. They just didn't make me feel special, and thankfully I have a few mum friends that made me feel truly special and made the day amazing for me. I don't feel like I was asking for much because I never make myself the center of attention. Come along the wedding and they barely spend time with me on the day, just take selfies and post everything on Instagram. They apparently were all on their phones during my speeches. They also didn't rock up to the recovery and didn't message me a single congrats or ask how I am. Thankfully I didn't react, I just stopped messaging them. It's been a few months and I've seen them maybe 1 to 3 times since, and it's been a couple weeks since our last messages. I haven't been initiating any conversations. Last night I see they are all out together, and they have invited the couple other extended girlfriends that they have voiced to me they don't like at all, which is now hurting my feelings, because then they really went out of their way to not include me. But in saying that, how can I be sad they didn't invite me when I have clearly distanced myself from them? How can I move forward, stop caring and get on with my life? I would think about this situation daily, and although I don't like them and don't want to be friends with them, I'm still feeling caught up in the guilt and what if. Too long, didn't read, I cut off my friends after I got married 3 months ago. Tilikarana says, it's hard and often unhealthy to try to maintain connections with single friend groups after you are married and have kids. Your lives are in different places, and your motivations are different. Embrace your new, more stable, and fulfilling life with your family. Meekness Fate says, go make some mommy friends who are in the same stage of life as you. Mike 2024 says, you're at a different phase in your life, and so it's natural that there will be a drift there. If possible, keep them as friends with some distance to you, and make friends who are in the same phase as you. Friends can be for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. These friends could have just been for the season of the young single phase of your life. And that's okay. Blue Eagle 23 says, it's natural for friendships to change as we age. You are in a new place in your life, so you no longer have much in common with them. Sounds like they were great friends anyway. You're right about it not being fair, that you were upset about not being invited when you have been distancing yourself from them. It just takes some time to adjust to your roles, or lack of, in each other's lives. It's time to focus on building some of those friendships with others that understand and can relate to where you are in life now. Clara Swin says, I decided to end a long-standing friendship after my wedding too. It's funny how something like a wedding shines a spotlight on things that you sort of know, but haven't considered the most important part of the friendship. In my case, I saw that any care or affection my friend had for me was not as prominent as her hope to always have one up on me. It's normal to have conflicted feelings about the decision, but we both ended the dynamic knowing that no amount of hope/confrontation etc was going to resolve the issue. They are running true to form, and the pettiness and mean girling happening shows nothing but that you were perfectly right in your decision. You'll find it hurts a lot less in time. Strangely Literal says, I'm the first friend in the larger friends group to have a child, get engaged and married, because I'm the only one that has been able to keep a long-term boyfriend. Wow. Okay. I think there are two separate issues at work here. 1. Your priorities have changed, but your friends have not. They were very rude at your wedding, and unsupportive when you had your baby. You are allowed to be hurt by their behavior. People's lives move different directions, and that's okay, but that doesn't excuse their behavior. It's also okay to grieve their friendship, even if you were the one who chose to cut them off. 2. With that said you come off just as immature, competitive, and mean-spirited as your ex-friends do, but in a more passive way. You say in your first paragraph that they can't keep a man, as if that's some kind of moral failing on their part. You go on to speculate that their behavior must be because they are jealous of you or unable to share the spotlight, but did you ever, at any point, actually talk to them about their behavior and how it made you feel? If you did, then what did they say? It sounds like you're probably better off with your new mum friends, so to speak, who are in a similar life stage as you. But I also can't help but wonder if what you're really mad about is their refusal to acknowledge you won by getting married and starting a family first. And the first problem is one that will heal with time and embracing your new life, but the second problem will poison everything you've built if you let it go. Detcord 36 says, you matured, they didn't. You are progressing in life, they aren't. You grew out of the high school clique mentality, they didn't. Sometimes it's best to leave the past in the past. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.